Hi everyone, Katie Sutton, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy here with your September energy update. I have 3 themes that I'm going to share with you this month. The first is shedding stories and old truths. The second is manifesting with childlike curiosity. And the third is healing anger as a catalyst for change. So stay tuned for the rest of the energy update. Hi everyone, I hope you're doing really well. It's been a busy couple of months for me as I've completed 3 really transformational retreats here in North Carolina and 1 in California. And over these last couple of months, I've learned so much about the power of community. And I just want to thank you all and send gratitude your way for showing up and being a part of the Zen Within family. It's really important to me to continue to build community as we are so dispersed and disconnected these days. And I'm really finding that people are craving that connection. So thank you for being a part of the connection and the community that I'm building here. So we have some important themes this month that I want to talk with you about, and they've kind of come in like a freight train for me. Coming off of these last couple of months and being immersed in nature and community, I've noticed that these themes are almost inherent to our next chapter as a collective. This month of September feels really, really important. It almost feels like we're coming together and coming back inwards again, preparing for the fall and winter months here in the Northern Hemisphere, and also preparing for a lot more change that I definitely feel is coming in October and November and December. And so think of September as a month to recalibrate, reset, renew. All of the re's, if you will, are going to be available to us this month. And so there's 3 themes kind of around that I want to talk about and give you some more detail on. And one of those themes I'll be doing a healing circle on next Wednesday, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of this video. So the first theme that I want to talk about that I'm seeing really prevalently coming up for all of my clients and in all of my meditations, my personal meditations, is the shedding of old stories and truths, I'll put that in air quotes, that we thought were our truth. And this is really important because I'm noticing that we all need to make space. And truth itself is very mutable, very changeable, and not at all consistent. And what we've seen over the last few months in the collective and in social media and in the news is that there was a ton of information coming out, and I spoke with you about needing to really anchor into your discernment. And that is going to continue to be important as we move into the fall. And what I'm seeing with my clients as we're stepping into September is that we're being asked to let go of any old stories. Anything that we've been telling over and over and over again that has become our truth, that maybe is a victim story or maybe an old way of being or an old program that we're carrying that we no longer need. And this is really important because I've been speaking with you all about the control structures that are breaking down as we move to the new earth and as we move to this 5th dimensional frequency. And those control structures exist in our external reality, but if we want them to fully break down and us to have space to rebuild the new structures, we have to do that on the inside first. And so anywhere in your being where you have created a control structure based on a story that you've been telling yourself, that needs to be dismantled this month. They need to come down. They need to be released. They need to be told for the last time so that you can completely shed them and make space for the newness that wants to anchor in the fall for each of us on an individual level and on a collective level. Everything that we do on the inside is reflected in our external reality. So if there's a control structure like financial systems or government or religion or anything that exists that you no longer want to be a part of or you really want to see dismantled, we need to start that process inside. We need to dismantle our pieces and parts, if you will, of those control structures and how we have played into those stories and where we've given our freedom and our power away. And this is work that we started back in March and April when the whole experience that we've just been through began. But we're really kind of coming to the culmination of it at this point. And that's going to be setting us up to step into the fall and start to step into more of that fifth dimensional frequency and miracle consciousness that will be available to us. And that theme of letting go of those old stories and truths, as you work with it this month, think about writing them down and burying them or burning them, right? Do something in the physical to release that. Speak them to somebody, speak them to a practitioner that you work with, or me, or one of your friends, and allow that to be the last time you tell that story as a truth for you. And it doesn't mean that you haven't been through those experiences and you haven't learned from them. You just no longer need to carry the energy of that in your body because it's taking up space. And when we are filled up with all of those old stories, there's no space for a new story to be created. So I invite you to work with that theme this month and see what unfolds for you. The next theme that I want to talk about, which is pretty near and dear to my heart, especially after the last couple of months and what I've personally experienced in my retreats, is manifesting with childlike curiosity. So when we clear out those old stories, we make space and basically clean the slate for anything new that wants to come in. And we're very used to learning about manifestation from the frequency of I have to speak it, I have to do it, I have to be it. And it's very difficult to manifest in that way. And that's been where we have been for the last 6 or 7 years. We've needed a lot of focused effort to manifest. But as we move further into this fifth dimensional consciousness and frequency, the ability to manifest almost out of thin air becomes the norm. And so I want you to think of manifesting with childlike curiosity from the perspective of no longer manifesting from where you were before. So if we're trying to, for example, bring in a new job or a new partner, if we're creating from the frequency and the template that existed in our life up until this point, we're creating from an old set of stories and beliefs. And so when we clear those stories and traumas and beliefs out, we clean the slate, and then I want you to think about manifesting like you know nothing. Manifesting like you have absolutely no idea what's possible. And a beautiful way to do this is to lean into the joy that you want to have in your life. And so really thinking about and daydreaming about what would it be like if I was in joy every day? What would it be like if I had my perfect partner or my perfect job? How would I feel in my body? How would that align with putting me in my highest and greatest joy? And daydream it into being. And I know that sounds very loosey-goosey and a little bit woo-woo, but what I want you to understand is that as we step into this fifth dimensional frequency, the efforting that we've been doing from that distorted masculine place is no longer going to work for us. Our heart has to be open and we have to be in our joy in order for us to call in our highest timeline. And so that may mean that you need to take more time away from people. You may need to take some time in nature. You may need to lean into your joy this month so that you can remember what that feels like. So pull out that old hobby or that old thing that you used to like to do when you were younger and bring it forward and approach it with childlike curiosity of, if I step into this activity that I haven't done in a really long time that brings me joy, what might change in my life? And when we're manifesting from this frequency, it's important that we're not too particular about the hows, right? We're not too particular about how it's going to come into being. So we want to approach it like a little kid that has not learned anything yet and is open to whatever might be present in their field and what might bring them joy. So really take some time this month to find your joy. As you anchor that in September, it's going to set you up for creating this new reality in this next chapter that is going to start to really land for each of us on an individual level in the fall. And it will serve us as we start to see more changes happening on the global scale. Because if you've already aligned with your highest timeline and your greatest joy, you can sail through and surf through all of these changes that are going to be happening. And the third theme, which is somewhat related, but it may not feel like it, is healing our anger and transforming it and using it as a catalyst for change. So I got the nod a couple of months ago from my guides that it was important that I started working with the frequency of anger and how it impacts me. And my relationship with anger has been very volatile in the past until I really started to realize that a lot of the emotions that I was carrying were not even mine. A lot of the feeling tones in my body that I was carrying as an empath were not mine. I used to have eruptions of anger, and that would be the way that I would purge energy that I had taken on from everybody in the matrix around me. And as I've stepped into understanding that my empathy is a superpower and being able to use my gifts and doing my work in the world, anger has been not as prevalent. But there are still anger programs that I have been running where the anger has been distorted. And rather than just fully setting that boundary, I make a passive-aggressive statement. And that doesn't actually empower me or the other person. It's very wishy-washy when we're in distorted anger. But anger in its purest form actually can create courage and change in our life. And so you might be noticing that anger is coming up for you this month. It actually started at the end of August. There's some astrological events that are impacting this, but it is really, really palpable in our fields right now. And so little things might be irritating you. You might be finding little ways of people behaving that are irritating you, where in the past you might have just been able to brush it off. And it's important that we start to understand and look at and work with anger now on an individual level, because as more truths are revealed in the fall and more information comes to light and more conflict and chaos energy arises, if we haven't resolved our own anger, our own personal anger distortions, then we're going to get caught up in the collective anger, and that's not the highest timeline for us to create change from. So we really want to work this month in purifying anger. And there's some very specific ways that that is coming in and to be healed for me this month. And I'll be sharing that next Wednesday, September 9th at 7:30 p.m. in my healing circle. And we'll be receiving some teachings from my guides from Sirius on anger as an emotion and as a frequency, and the distortions and what those look like and how they might be present in your life. And then what to do to clear those distortions so that you can come into the purity of anger. Because anger in its purest form, and it's just a frequency, and it is a very powerful frequency that allows us to make lasting change in our lives and set boundaries and create structure and routine for ourselves. But if we've never gotten to the purest form of it and the understanding of what we're truly angry about, we can't use it as a catalyst for change. And so I hope you'll join me for that healing circle next week so I can share more about that with you. But for now, just be mindful of your irritation. Likely it's coming up and it's hiding and obscuring some other emotions. And so if you're finding yourself in anger for any reason, sit with that and say, am I really angry at the thing that my mind is projecting it onto? Or am I actually angry about this thing over here that's happening in my life that I can't control? And when we start to do that self-inquiry, we break down the barriers that we have against feeling our emotions and interpreting our emotions. And I say all the time that the emotional body is the way to the fifth dimensional frequency. It's how we're going to get there. It's through the emotions, not through the mind, and not even through the physical body, that we're going to get there. So it's really important to start to understand our emotional landscape. So I hope those 3 themes are helpful for you. I hope that gives you something to think about and meditate on this month. I'll be doing some Facebook Lives. I'm getting back into that now that my travels have been completed. So you'll see more about these themes from me on my Facebook page, Zen Within Academy. So check that out if you're not a member of that page. And I look forward to seeing some of you on the Healing Circle next week. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I'll be back in October to give you the next themes. Bye.